Hey everyone, what's up? I hope you are having an amazing day. You are not going to want to miss the upcoming episode. I'm going to be interviewing a phenomenal woman who, check this out, was working for a Fortune 500 company and started a multi-million-dollar business part-time. She's going to share how she did it. Then she's also going to share if she could be building a business in present times, what are the tools she'd be using now? So you will not want to miss this next episode of Raw and Real Entrepreneurship. I'm Susan Sly, and let's get started.
Welcome to the Susan Sly Project, where entrepreneurs rule, startups launch, and the side hustle becomes the main hustle. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Susan Sly.
Okay, so maybe you're watching and you have a full-time job and you're thinking, I want to start a side business, or maybe you are a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home dad, and you're thinking, I love these children, but I need something more. Whatever it is, Raw and Real Entrepreneurship, the message is, yes, you can. Yes, you can start a business. Yes, you can be successful. Yes, you can be profitable. And this channel is all about showing you how to do it. So I'm Susan Sly. If you don't know anything about me, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a tech investor. I'm also a mom and a multipreneur. And this channel is about getting raw and real. So we don't just talk about the good stuff. We talk about the challenging stuff too. And first and foremost, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, make sure you comment. We read all your comments. We comment back to you. And if you have a burning question on entrepreneurship, go to susansly.com, just submit a question. I'd be happy to make a video for you. So my guest today, check this out. She was featured in Inc. magazine, Wired magazine, the Wall Street Journal, and Home and Garden TV. Like, oh my goodness. She launched her career in sales and marketing for 2 Fortune 500 companies. And most people don't even do that with one. She did it with 2 because she's a slight overachiever. One of many things I love about her. She launched a multi-million-dollar brick and mortar business and online business with 20 employees. And she started that business part-time. She's also the president of Agency 8 and just always up on the latest trends on entrepreneurship, how to help small business owners succeed. And she has a passion for helping people just like you. So Diana Frerick, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Susan. And I just love your topic. It's like near and dear to me. Entrepreneurs, I just love them.
I know you do. And you live it, you breathe it. There are a lot of people who are, talk about entrepreneurship, but they have never really done it. Let's go back in time. You started a multi-million-dollar business while you were working full time. And for people who don't know your story, can you walk us through that?
Well, yes, I had a dream job in corporate America, actually. I couldn't have asked. It was incredible. I got to do everything I love for a company that was so much fun. You would know the company if I said it. And it just so happened I got a side hobby. Listen to what I'm saying here. It's a hobby. And I got into it so much that it suddenly became this little side business. And then suddenly doors started opening and we started meeting people in that industry. And then the next thing you know, we had an opportunity to buy into a very small little company. It was tiny for a lot of different reasons, but they were willing to sell it to us. And I didn't have that money. And my other half didn't have that money. And I said, let's be creative. How can we figure out how to get the money? How can we buy this business? And so we just kind of thought about it and said, why don't we just make an offer of paying them X amount per month for 3 years, and at the end of it is a balloon note. We'll figure it out then. And really it was very bold. I always say fortune favors the bold. And in that case, that was true. And I've also learned something else, Susan, is that when you walk in faith, especially if you walk with this attitude that the universe is conspiring for your favor, opportunities seem to fall in your lap. I mean, I just really feel that the universe, or God, whatever you want to call it, rewards that kind of thought process. A victim mentality will never get you anywhere, but that feeling of even when things aren't necessarily going exactly the way they should, you say to yourself, wow, there's a reason this is happening. I can't wait to see what it is. And when you do that, it's like opportunity rains on you. And that's exactly what happened in that situation. We walked in there, did not expect them to accept our offer. It was so crazy when I think about it now. They go, yes. So I'll never forget when we walked out of that meeting. My other half, Kevin, and I, we were just jumping up and down for joy because we just bought this tiny little business, wasn't doing very much per year. And then we dove in and we built it up to a multi-million-dollar company. So that's really kind of how it started. I just really believe it's faith and boldness and doing things that most people weren't willing to do. And that's what got it going.
Diana, I love that. I love what you said. Fortune favors the bold. I mean, that's massive. And I had done another video on YouTube about, should I buy a business or should I start a business? And one of the things I said is, never buy a business you don't understand. Like, don't buy a McDonald's franchise if you don't like to eat at McDonald's, right? And you had this hobby first, and that just reaffirmed that you had the hobby, then you got into the business, which is huge. What was, this channel is raw and real entrepreneurship. Like, what was the toughest thing that you endured while still working full time and having a part-time business? Because a lot of people, for some people, it taxes their relationship. It can lead to divorce, or they feel guilty as parents, or it affects their health. They're working long hours. What was it for you?
Well, I always tell people starting off in a business, there's sacrifice on the front end. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that, but we understood. In the beginning, we didn't collect a paycheck. I didn't collect a paycheck from my own company for 5 years. A lot of people don't understand that sacrifice. And we had to consolidate our homes. He had his own home, I had mine, and we had to go to my smaller home to save money. And it was kind of crazy because we had mutually animals, and it was way too small. But so there's sacrifices you're going to need to make on the front end if you want the rewards on the back end. So those were probably the hardest things we had to do. Fortunately, like you said, I can't, when I think about it now, it's insane. I was working 80 hours a week because I worked a full-time job there, and at night I would leave. And I didn't even work 40 hours for the company. I loved what I did, and I didn't really ever want to leave, but I probably put in 50, maybe 60 hours there because I loved what I did. And then I came and at night worked till midnight sometimes with the other business. So it's just, it's not for everybody. You sacrifice a lot. I mean, you might not, if you want to have kids, that might not be the best time to have a kid. But anyway, the sacrifices on the front end, and then you got to be willing to cut expenses and not take a paycheck. And then sometimes it gets a little scary with money. I'll tell you that there's peaks and valleys with the income as it comes in. And I could tell you stories about that.
Well, I want to go there. Like, we had, and for the viewers, one of the top shows we've had is my interview with Blake York. You can either listen to it on iTunes or Spotify, or you can watch it on YouTube. And Blake, if you don't know his story, he's working full time as a nurse. He's doing a master's degree at night. He has a little boy. At the time, his wife was a hairstylist, and he would go 3 days without sleeping. And on top of it, he had a side business and a dream. Like, he wanted to open a med spa. And I'm going to ask you the same question I asked him. On the toughest days, Diana, when you were exhausted, right? And you're still working, it's nighttime, you've got this business, you don't have your own space because now you're living with your business partner. How did you keep yourself going mentally?
Wow. Well, I think it's just, you can't do you have to love it. You absolutely have to love what you're doing, because I don't know to me, it was more than a business. We were consumed with it in creating this really incredible company. And so it didn't feel like work. That's number one. It didn't. But also, when the bad times would happen, and there'd be months where things were very prosperous, but you keep putting money back into your company, and then something unexpected would happen the next month. And there are times I would literally go we had a little recording studio, and I'd go in there and I'd sit on the floor and cry. Like, I'll give you, if you want raw and real, I'll give you some raw and real. We would just be rocking and rolling, and then without getting into all the stuff, there'd be some stuff that happened to us, really bad stuff that really was not our doing. Fraud happens in business, and people do stuff. And we were in a position, I can't even believe I'm telling this story, that our phone lines, we had 4 phone lines that were ringing pretty much nonstop. That was the lifeblood of our business, all the calls for sales coming in. And literally we were behind, and our phone bill was big, we'd fallen behind, and I was getting the money to pay that bill, and they shut my phone lines down, and all of a sudden, whoosh, your lifeblood of your business is shut down, and your employees are just kind of looking at you like. And I take a brief breath, and I went into the studio, and I just cried. And sometimes you do that, you just cry, get it up, and you get up and you come out and say, all right, I'll get those lines on, give me an hour, I'll get it figured out. And I would, right? I would just find a way. So stuff like that happens. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs and people who've grown into massive companies, and they can tell you similar stories, right? Of things like that, really hard things to get through. And you wonder, am I going to make it? Are we going to have to shut the doors? Where you're just a few days away from them putting locks on your door. We had that happen once. Landlords aren't necessarily the most warm and fuzzy people. Because when they come lock the doors, they lock the doors with everything inside, and you can't run your business then. So, maybe Susan, you can relate to some of these stories, because I know you've owned businesses too.
Yeah.
And it can be tough.
It is. You mentioned the padlock on the door. On Good Friday, in the year 2000, I walk into my health club, and there's a padlock on the door, and the landlord had locked us out. And there were so many things. Renting a brick and mortar business, it was a health club. The air conditioning went out. The landlord's like, it's not my responsibility to fix it. It was $40,000. And I'm like, I can't have people in the summer doing aerobics. This is the 90s. I can't have them doing that. And before the padlocks ended up on the door, we were getting calls from creditors. There were times when I was working 2 side hustles just to pay our employees. My adrenals were burned out. I gave myself multiple sclerosis. And I know it is so hard. And that's why this channel, I'm not going to be the channel where it's like, oh yeah, just start your business. You're going to make all this money doing funnels and all this stuff. That's what you want to hear. It's not what you need to hear. What you need to hear, there are going to be wall kicking moments. Now, Diana, one of the things that you and I have been talking about recently is there are so many new tools, and business is actually more inexpensive than ever. Like you and I, okay, let's do rapid fire. How much is the most you ever spent on a Yellow Pages ad?
I want to say $1,300 a month.
Okay, so $1,300 a month. Everyone listening, some of you don't even know what the Yellow Pages is. It was like a big business directory paper. Some of you remember. If you remember the Yellow Pages and you're on YouTube, just go ahead below and say Yellow Pages, and I'm gonna do a little heart emoji for the Yellow Pages.
What is that in today's dollars? Because this would have been back in the 90s.
Oh yeah. So with inflation, so $1,300 a month. So let's go 15,000 a year. So we're talking in today's dollars, at least around $22,000-$23,000. And any of the economists who are watching, finance people, just go ahead, correct me. But yeah, our biggest one was about $15,000. And so we also had music licensing fees. So every time we played a popular song, like a Spice Girls song or whatever in an aerobics class, we had to pay royalties on that, staffing costs, taxes. We also had inventory. I don't know if so now the whole world gets to hear our conversation. Diana and I have been friends for a very, very, very long time. I don't think I've ever told you this. So we had a pro shop in our health club, and we sold Danskin workout clothes. And so I would have to buy those, $30,000, $40,000 in advance, trying to anticipate what my gym members were going to buy. And then we'd have, theft, we'd have all sorts of things. So at the peak of it, when I just couldn't keep holding everything together, I had to pay my staff. So that was always my first priority, just keep my staff, because if the staff's not there, the business isn't there, pay the rent, pay all the marketing fees, do all this stuff. And it just got to a point where we couldn't keep up with large chains that were moving into our location, because when we would buy one treadmill, it was $14,000. A chain would buy the same treadmill and they get them for $7,000 each. We just couldn't compete. And that's why I vowed, Diana, when that business collapsed and I ended up homeless, I vowed never, ever, ever again would I ever go through that again. That was number one. And number two, it was to really look for ways to optimize, because in those olden days, you just didn't have that.
Susan, you brought up something there that I forgot completely about: inventory. The difference is back then you had to have inventory. You had to. And now you can run a business without inventory. Yes. Because you can drop ship. There's all kinds of affiliate off. There's all kinds of stuff. If anyone knew the pain of inventory, like it's like you have to warehouse it, you have to manage it and take inventory out of the inventory and then buy a bunch of stuff nobody buys and put it in storage. And I hate to say, I probably still have some of it in storage. And I know it's bad, but yeah, that's a huge one right there. What makes things so different?
Oh yeah, and things have changed so much. Like you mentioned phone bills. So I remember a business I started, my monthly phone bill was $1,500 a month with long distance charges, right? And that was a home-based business. And so by the time I was running ads in USA Today, those were $1,500 every Friday for like a little ad. I was also running ads in the Robb Report luxury magazine. So I had an ad spend that was, $5,000-$6,000. Then I had this phone bill that was another, $1,500 plus. And it's like, people today, they have no idea how inexpensive it is to run a business. So let me ask you this, like, sort of just like on the Wayback Machine, we can look at websites from the olden days. If you had that business with the demand now and the tools you have today, what are some of those tools you'd be using?
Well, I wrote down 4 things because I knew we were going to talk about this. And I have to tell you, there isn't probably a week that doesn't go by where I go, oh, I wish I would have had this. Oh, I wish I would have had this. I would have made $1 billion, right? Because really, anyone who starts a business now, things are so much easier. You have no idea. One thing for sure I will tell you is creating a relationship with your client has never been easier. Contacts, managing your contacts, your customer base, segmentation of your customer base. In the old days, I used to have all my customers on a spreadsheet. They'd come in, they'd write their email address. We did have email. And then we would take put it all in a little computer spreadsheet. And then if I could, I would start logging their purchases preferences. Like in my business, it was music. And so I would log what kind of music styles they liked as best I could on a manual spreadsheet. I had 60,000 clients I managed on a manual spreadsheet. Nowadays, you can simply put them in a CRM, tag them, and they get emails with their name. You can even customize what they see in the email based on their preferences. If I could have only, Susan, had that back then, that's number one.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
Oh my goodness. Like, oh yeah, we're having like in the olden days, if you're having a sale or something, you're taking out ads and you're like going, direct marketing and all these different things. Meanwhile, you have this customer base that you have no way to communicate with. So I love that. Definitely a CRM. Okay. What's number 2?
Well, number 2, I only wish I could have had this tool back then, live streaming. Because I think this is business underused this. They're either too shy to get in front of camera. They don't know what to say. Let me tell you what, if I'd have had this, I'd have been live streaming all over the place. I would have, you'd learn to get comfortable on camera. Guess what, guys? I'm going to tell you right now, I was never a girl who wanted to be on camera. I was always behind the scenes. I didn't want to be, and then I had to be. And after a few times doing it, then it's just like talking to a friend. That's how I look at it. I look pretty comfortable when you say, Susan. You wouldn't know I was shy, but I really was. I didn't want to do it. And so I did. But if I'd only had live stream, I would have been doing some to feature my company. I would have done YouTube videos, how-to videos on topics in my business. I would have done little videos on TikTok to get attention to my business. I would have done stuff on Instagram and Facebook live streams, because when you do a live stream, it gets a lot more attention in the eyes of the people that follow you than just a post would. And I know, Susan, you leverage live stream. Would you agree that they're one of the most powerful tools on social media?
Absolutely. And I know that live stream is interesting because you pick up different people who might not otherwise follow you. And I know that, I'll even tell you guys, like, I'm not doing as many live streams. I used to do a weekly live stream, and then Facebook, in their infinite wisdom, made some changes to their backend UI for doing the live streams. And it was very glitchy for a period of time. But I have friends, they use StreamYard, they use all sorts of different ways to communicate live with the audience. I do live coaching, and I think the word live is very important. People want that access. And Diana, I'll tell you something like futuristic. I have a friend who's launching a company in the music space, and she was showing me their platform, which is run on the blockchain. Okay. And I want you to imagine that if you're a fan of like whatever musician that someone's a fan of, I'm just going to make this, I don't know, the Gwen Stefani just popped out of my mind just because she just got married. So you're a fan of Gwen Stefani. You actually see this catalog with Gwen, and there's like all these different like moving parts, the best of like all these when she was with No Doubt, but it's like you're having like a intimate experience. And then you get to go into a live room with Gwen, but in this experience. And so what this is going to do, it's going to bring the fan base to the musicians. It's going to help younger musicians come up. And it's not, I mean, when I saw it, I was like, this is not anything the world's ever seen before. And
Wow.
so technologies are changing, but live is here to stay for a very, very long time. And not to get political, but I'm going to say that the next election, the candidates who are willing to go live, to do, lives on different social media platforms, that is going to be the game changer for them, because people want that access. They want to feel that connection. So I love it. Lives. Okay. What's the next one?
Right. This is somewhat related, but a little bit more of a spin on it, is that I think there's such a more conducive environment to working with media, whether it be TV, radio, print, or online, and more streamlined. What I mean by that is I did a lot with the media in my company, and I got a lot of free publicity that way, but it wasn't easy. I had to like hit the streets, go knock on their door, send them a physical something in the mail. And then when email, was more prevalent, I started trying to figure out how to email them. And once you build those relationships, then they can just blossom, and they did for us. But there's so much easier for businesses to reach out to the media, and they love it. And I just want to give this tip, because I only wish I would have had this back then. It's a site called helpareporter.com. And what it is, it's like a clearinghouse where reporters go because they want to write a story and they're looking for the right subject matter expert. And I believe we're in the days, and I mentioned this as the last tip, subject matter experts. That is so huge. The how-to videos, being that voice of authority in your niche or industry. You really got to be that and showcase that any way you can. Leverage the tools, whether it be live stream or getting in front of the press. But I think more than ever, being that subject matter expert and taking advantage of like the tools like helpareporter.com. And let me tell you what that is. There's a free subscription to that, but if you pay, there's like a little payment you could do. They will alert you when your keywords are put out there because it's first to market with that industry. When they want to write a story, they want to find their subject matter expert right away. And then you get an email and you can attack it right then. So that's my next tip. And I think it's really right for the picking right now for that.
Yeah, I love that, Diana. It's interesting you mentioned that. I was having a conversation the other day with a colleague of mine who is an associate professor at ASU in robotics. And he was saying he's telling his PhD students that they need to brand themselves, because what's happening when these PhD candidates are going and they're looking for grants, they're looking for their, next opportunity, that companies, schools, everything, they're looking at this person's brand identity. And I want everyone to think about their brand identity as a footprint. Essentially, it's a footprint you're leaving digitally throughout the world. And it's when I look at young people, it's like, oh yeah, well, no one's going to care 10 years from now if I post a photo of my booty in a thong. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And in fact, some of the things you're archiving, you think you're archiving or you think you're deleting, they don't get deleted. And there are many ways people can see that stuff. So your brand identity is very important no matter what kind of business you're in. I love that. What else?
All right. And this is my last tip. And I think I'm saving the best for last, because I really think this is the most powerful, and it doesn't cost you really anything to do, way to market your business, especially if you're a local business and you don't even have to have a physical location. That's a misnomer on this. It's called Google My Business. And what is Google My Business? I want you to think about it's kind of like the Yellow Pages we talked about before on steroids. I only wish I could have had Google My Business back in the day, but I'm going to give you an example of how powerful it is. So our air conditioner, I know you had kind of everyone in Arizona, we have air conditioner issues every year, but both my units went out about a month apart. But I went right away to the internet. Isn't that what you do? Your air conditioner goes, you go to the internet, and what do, Susan? You Google air conditioning in Phoenix, right? Or air conditioning repair near me. That's what everybody does. In fact, let me give you some statistics. There are over 3.5 billion searches a day on Google. And Susan, wait till you hear this. 46% of those are for local businesses.
Wow.
I didn't even know that. I am shocked by that. So what happens when someone does a local business search, Google knows, because Google knows everything. They know where you're at. And they know that you are physically in Phoenix, and they will show you Phoenix air conditioning near you. And so you're probably wondering, how did they do that? Well, they know your IP address, but they also use what's called Google My Business. And these are businesses that have gone in and filled out this online process to be listed, and they have to verify they're legit. There's a way Google does that by sending a postcard to the physical address, verify that you do have a place there, and then you get a listing there, and your client reviews are there, just all kinds of really good stuff, your hours, how to contact you, your website, and it's all free. So did you just hear what I said? 46% of 3.5 billion searches for local businesses are on there. If your business isn't on there, you are missing all kinds of free. It's the most powerful place people go looking for you. And I'm not just talking going to their desktop. I'm talking like my other half, Kevin. He does this. Hey, Google, where's the closest, hot dog stand or whatever he's looking for to me right now? And that's the power of it. And I will tell you, Susan, I wish I could have had Google My Business back in the day. That I used to pay I paid $1 million total, almost about 900 and some thousand to Google to get rank listing on their site for my business. And you can get it for free if you build it, work on it and you can pay for positioning, right? But you can also get free positioning if you do it right. Now, I will tell you this, it just as a side note, because at the agency, we have it, we do have a service there where we can audit, and it's really affordable. So anyone wants to do that, we can put a link below here in the comments that they can get a free, or not a free, but it's a very affordable little audit to see if you are maximizing your Google My Business, because that would be the best money you spend on anything like that.
Diana, that's awesome. And if people want to audit their business, just go to agencya.com, get the business audit. And then not only is there an audit, there's also a path to cleaning things up. I can't emphasize this enough. I could throw a stone and hit 10 life coaches, right? But do you want your business to stand out? And if you think just posting stuff about yourself on Instagram is going to be enough to set yourself apart, no. Because someone once told me this, a mentor of mine, they said, Susan, people Google problems. And do you know when they Google problems? At night when they're feeling desperate. So they're Googling how do I treat a headache? At night. They're Googling when it's really hot in Phoenix, when they have problems, air conditioning repair, plumbing repair, whatever it is you do. And you may say, well, do I have a business that needs to be, I'm going to make up a word, Googleable? Is that a word? Googleable? Googleable. It's a new word. It's an adjective. Yes, you do. Yes, you do need to have that. And the biggest thing I want to also say is always control the optics on your brand. I can't emphasize that enough. The optics on your brand are how people see you. And if you aren't in control with Google, you're not controlling it. And you're either controlling your brand or someone else is. Diana, I have a final question. So I love those tips, and you guys can connect with Diana. Just go to agency8.com. Let's say there's a person here and they have a business. And sometimes they're building it and sometimes they're not. What do you want to say to them about a sense of urgency?
Well, that's a hobby. Let's be honest. I can't imagine me it was the rare moment that I didn't build my business, really, honestly. It might have been a forced shutdown because of a holiday. That might have been my day off, frankly. So that's what you got to be honest with yourself. You really got to say, is this a hobby or a real business? And then if it is, and you really are, then you got to be committed, and you have to have an action plan. You have to know what are you doing each day? What is your objective? What's your goal for that week? What's your goal for that month? What's your goal for the year? And celebrate those goals and milestones. Super important. I know at the agency we do that. I know with our company, the first year we hit $1 million for the year, whatever point that was. We had a big celebration cake, and we had the employees sign this plaque with $1 million bill in it. I still have it. And then the first day we had 2 million in a year. I think it was in November of one year. We're like, yay, we hit it. And they were excited about it too. They were all part of it. They all had a part of it. And we signed that as well. So you've got to really know where you're at, what your goals are, and celebrate those milestones, and have daily, weekly, monthly goals. It's super important. And you can't just work it part-time. I don't even that's not a business. No,
it's not. It's definitely not a business. And that the thing I want to say to everyone is I have seen more people dabble and beat themselves up and beat themselves up and beat themselves up and never get to where they're capable of being. And the reality is, I believe you wouldn't be watching my channel if you weren't a generous person, if you weren't a good person. If you are neither of those things, go to a different channel. This isn't the channel for you. The thing I want to say is, if you want to be more generous, if you want to do more good in the world, get your butt in gear. Now is the time. Build your business with a fervor. Save your money. Use the tools. Use the tools that are going to help you. Get your business audit. Figure out where you are, and then from there, just go. And even if you're working full time and your business is part time, make yourself full time in that part time. And what I mean by that is just go all in those hours that you're scheduling to build your business, because now is the time. Diana and I are on a mission to change the number of businesses that fail. 50% by year number 5, only 30% make it to year 10, only 7% get to 7 figures. And so we want to change those statistics. So Diana, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Susan, for having me. I'll always come and talk about this subject. I love it.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And with that, guys, don't forget, if you haven't, subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it on your social, tag Diana and I. Go get your business audited. Go to agency8.com. With that, God bless. This has been another episode of Raw and Real Entrepreneurship, and I'll see you in the next video.